This is OccupyME TV on Portland's community television network.
Hi, I'm Brian Leonard.
Hi, I'm Bob Klotz.
And I'm Regis Tremblay. Welcome to this edition of OccupyME TV. In this edition, we will visit with one of the remaining occupiers of the camp at Lincoln Park. We'll cover the City Council's historic vote on a resolution encouraging our congressional delegation to reverse Citizens United, the Supreme Court's decision granting personhood to corporations and allowing them to pour unlimited amounts of shadowy money into our elections. We'll cover the weekend's events surrounding the Martin Luther King anniversary, and finally, we'll take you to the Occupy the New Hampshire primary, where a group of Occupy Maine presented a wonderful bit of street theater. Pending a decision by the courts, there are still between 10 and 20 occupiers who are braving sub-freezing temperatures, snow and ice as they exercise, in the name of all of us, our rights to free speech, peaceable assembly, and the redress of grievances to the government. I visited the camp recently, and we spoke with our own Palmer Ryan, one of the remaining occupiers and a plaintiff in the lawsuit brought against the city by Occupy Maine, to find out how they are holding up and why Occupy Maine is suing the city.
I'm Andre Schneller. We're here in Lincoln Park in Portland, Maine. I'm speaking with Palmer Ryan, and we just had a big storm, and we just want to know what's going on in camp.
Well, thanks an awful lot. As you can see, it's pretty quiet around here today. We are managing. We're 15, 20 strong. We're not going anywhere. We have our court date next Tuesday, and we certainly hope to be allowed to stay at camp and make it through the winter.
We're standing out here. It's after 3. It's kind of bitterly cold out here, so how are people coping with the weather?
Well, first of all, if you're out here every day, then it isn't as bitterly cold for me as it probably is for you. Of course, I remember you, Andre, when you were camping over here. You were here for quite some time, so you probably remember that. You know, if you expose yourself to the elements, you just grow stronger and more resistant to the chill factor. As far as what we're doing to stay warm, our community tent, our library, has a great deal of passive solar. It stays warm during the day, and we can gather there, read or do whatever we want. Most of our eating is taking place at Purple Street. We are not receiving the donations we received at one point, either financially or donations of food, and so it's a bit tight around here. We made the decision to eat at the Purple Street Homeless Center as often as possible, and it's kind of an early to bed, early to rise experience, as most camping experiences are. You know, after dinner, if there isn't a meeting, just jump back into bed. A winter tent for sure. In fact, if you look around our campus, we have probably the crummiest tents available, most of which come from Walmart, Kmart, this sort of thing. Mine doesn't even have continuous nylon. It has mesh. See that? See the mesh? So the only thing that's protecting me from wind is this piece of tarp that came with it. It's called a rain tarp. So it's pretty rough. There's no question about it. The city did ask us to remove our plastic tarps, which you can see I did. A Quaker from a Portland Quaker church, a young man, gave me a beautiful winter sleeping bag. And I do use that, and I use wool blankets on top of that, and a down quilt on top of that. And I go to sleep with fleece clothing on, socks, and I'm pretty warm. I'm very comfortable.
You're one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Why did you file?
Well, I filed in cooperation with City Council, who advised Occupy Maine to bring this case to court. When we brought our case to the City Council, the councilors pretty much unanimously agreed, with the exception of one councilor, David Marshall, that this wasn't a city councilor case to decide upon. They had no precedent in which to vote positively in our direction, and they advised Occupy Maine to take the case to court and let the court decide if Occupy can stay in this camp legally or not.
So after all this, why are you still here?
Well, I'm still here because the occupation is still here, and I do believe that we are at a very precarious crossroad in planetary survival. Corporations are, in my opinion, 99.9% to blame, and I'm here to stand up for all of the whole world and its critters' right to planetary survival.
The 5-4 Citizens United Supreme Court ruling 2 years ago found that corporations have the same rights as individuals to make unlimited contributions to independent groups seeking to influence elections. United States Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont and a group of Democratic senators have introduced a constitutional amendment to reverse the ruling and to limit corporate influence in elections. The ruling has brought a flood of shadowy corporate money into our political process, as we have seen in the many recent TV attacks unleashed by super PACs supporting Republican presidential candidates. In a system where one person, one vote is supposed to be the rule, money is now usurping our voices in elections. On Wednesday, January 18, 2012, City Councilor David Marshall submitted a resolution to the Portland City Council calling for a constitutional amendment to reverse the Supreme Court's decision. After more than an hour of passionate and eloquent citizen comment, the Portland City Council approved the resolution that calls on members of Maine's congressional delegation to support an amendment to the United States Constitution striking down corporate personhood.
If you take the Diagnostic Manual for Psychiatric Illnesses, the DSM, and you look at the criteria and put a corporation as a person into that criteria, they would be defined as a sociopath.
What you have here is, in many ways, a nice model of democracy. People lined up to say yay or nay on the issues of the day. It's the people making decisions by the people, for the people. That's what our government is about.
This court case is very dangerous. This court case basically struck down, as we've heard, 60 years of laws that have been building up to limit the influence of corporations in elections, and it's a very dangerous precedent. And I'm actually honored to be able to speak here before you tonight, and I'm glad that you're considering this resolution, and I really hope that you will adopt it and make a statement and take a stand and have Portland be on record as being, as opposed to this court case, and in favor of some remedy in Congress, as we also work at the state level to remedy things with matching funds on the clean election system, which is also a problem. And also urge you to join the other municipalities across the country that have passed similar resolutions by adopting this tonight. Thank you.
25 people that work in my business. We're all people. We're all people in this community. We all have a voice. But as a corporation, as a small corporation, or as a large corporation, we are not people. And so I would urge you to support this resolution and to stand with other cities across this country that are recognizing people for people and working to restore democracy and get corporate money out of politics. Thank you.
My name is Tom McMillan, and I live at 8 Salem Street. I'm here tonight urging you to unanimously pass this measure. Cities across the country have already done so. We're following Los Angeles, New York, Boulder, Missoula, Montana. Today, a town in North Carolina passed it unanimously.
One thing that I've heard has been asked about this issue has been, why should the city government take up this issue? Don't we have more important things that we should be spending our time on? No. Democracy, I cannot think of a more important thing that you should be spending your time on than democracy. This is going to the question of whether we are going to continue to have democracy in this country. It is under threat. It is seriously under threat right now, whether we're going to have democracy in this country. Because right now, as previous speakers have mentioned, the population overwhelmingly supports ways to decrease the influence of wealthy contributors and corporate wealthy interests in our democracy, but Congress takes no action. The population overwhelmingly supports counteracting the effects of Citizens United, but Congress takes no action. We need to send this message to our congressional delegation from the city of Portland, because members of our own congressional delegation, our own U.S. senators, have not taken action to counteract the effects of Citizens United. They have not. Our two senators have not supported the Disclose Act, which would at least disclose who is putting money into these super PACs. They are not hearing us, and they're not hearing us because our voices are not as loud as the big money. And they need to hear us, and you need to help us be heard. There is no more important issue.
I'm John Brodigan from Falmouth, Maine, 1 Night Hill Road. Pardon me. All members of this council and all city boards take an oath to support the U.S. Constitution, and I think that goes a long way towards giving you the prerogative to examine the Constitution and major constitutional issues and to comment on them, as this resolution would have you do. I would say that the oath only puts the council in position to enter into resolutions or comment on issues that are of sufficient importance or are truly extraordinary. And I think this Citizens United decision is one of those. Citizens United is legally incorrect. It is terrible public policy, and it is morally indefensible.
My name is Deese Hamilton. I live in Lincoln Park. I'm here to say this to all of you council members. Listen to their hearts, what they say. Realizing that the money that corporations do have, it is dirty laundry. They need to wash it. You realize this too, that when you listen to other people's hearts, realize they speak from the truth. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
I just finished a book that my friend wrote called Corporations Are Not People. As my 7-year-old does when I start a book, she makes me a bookmark and uses the title of the book. Now, she wrote Corporations Are Not People, and she looked at me and said, "That's stupid." Now, we're working on not using the word stupid, but I forgave her in this case because, you know, to a 7-year-old, Daddy should be playing, not spending time reading a book about something everyone already knows. And she drew a little face so that I'd know. Maybe I would put the book in the drawer, wouldn't have to read it. A face. If you have a face, you're a person. If you don't have a face, you're not a person.
My name is Anna Trevorrow. I'm a resident at 612 Congress Street in Portland. I'm urging the council to vote in favor of this. I'm urging unanimous passage of this resolution. I think it's absolutely the business of the council.
My name is Herb Adams. I live on State Street in the Parkside neighborhood of Portland, and I teach at SMCC. In fact, I teach the Constitution, which we began to study this day. History will tell you that one of the strangest sidelines ever wandered down by the United States Supreme Court is that leads to corporate personhood. It's the direct path that leads to the resolution before you tonight. There's no industrial democracy in the world that stands at that point in recognition of non-flesh and blood things as humans other than us. Corporations now have all the rights, almost all the rights of a human being, plus immortality. They do not breathe, but they live. They do not have children, but they can reproduce. They cannot die in war because we do it for them. They have no flesh and they have no blood because we shed ours for them. Never born, they cannot die. They have now the right to free speech, plus the right to spend as much money, because money equals free speech. Men and women of the council, I think if you respect the Constitution, if you respect human rights, and respect the American democracy we hope to leave to our children, that Portland should play its own small but very important part in passing the resolution before you tonight. Because in no respect have we heard the last word about this issue in our complex democracy. Thank you.
My name's Delia Gorham. I'm the program director with the League of Young Voters. I work with young people who all too often feel shut out of the political system that doesn't want to listen to us. But there are people all over the state of Maine, obviously much larger than just our organization, that are going to be tuning into the news tonight to see how the council votes and whether or not you feel the city of Portland is the appropriate venue and avenue to speak up about this issue. Obviously, there aren't really any ideal councils or venues to take on Supreme Court decisions, and I don't think any of us here are disagreeing on what's in the content of this resolution in terms of corporate personhood and clean elections. But I just want you to know the rest of Maine is watching, the people of Portland are watching, and we desperately need someone in this age and time that we're living in to take a stand. So thank you so much for listening to us today. I know it's making the meeting go on a little longer than you might have anticipated, but your votes matter, and this is not symbolic. This is hugely, hugely important to the future of not just Portland, but our country. So thank you.
The council voted 6-2 to adopt the resolution. Voting in favor of the resolution were Mayor Michael Brennan, along with councilors David Marshall, Kevin Donahue, John Anton, Jill Duson, and Nicholas Mavadonis Jr. Voting against the resolution were councilors Cheryl Lehman and John Coyne. Lehman felt that the council chambers were not the proper venue to discuss a federal issue. Her fellow councilors and the overflow crowd obviously felt differently.
Where I part ways with all of you is I just quite simply do not believe that this is the forum for you to do that. I was elected as a city councilor to conduct city business.
All those in favor of the resolution? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? The motion carries 6-2 with Councilor Coyne and Councilor Lehman in the minority. Thank you.
On Saturday of the Martin Luther King celebration weekend in Portland, around 80 to 90 people from around the community came together to discuss the reasons for the loss of our democracy, our dissolving civil rights, and the growing economic disparity being endured by the entire community. Student group leaders came to the microphone to explain what their group had just discussed.
It was powerful. We got from there. The groups came out and marched from Preble Street up to Congress, down Congress to City Hall, where there were a number of speakers.
People united will never be defeated. People united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
City Council are reminded to remember the values that brought them to the office.
Person here gathered has an opportunity to beat a drum. To beat a drum for justice. This is a march for justice. And how can we have a just community, just families, and just neighborhoods when our neighbors suffer, when our neighbors hurt? Where's our moral compass? Where is our heart? Where is our desire to relieve suffering? But as individuals, we all have an opportunity to make a difference in someone's life, whether you're the 99 or the 1.
It was beautiful. It was a great multi-generational moment.
So many people who are involved in the Occupy movement. I really appreciate Heather coming up and speaking, and everybody who's here
Because today really, as Reverend Lewis said, it's always got to be a call to action. It's always got to be more than what we're doing. Today is about making sure we speak up.
When the readbacks, when the report backs happened at the end of the small group discussion, the large group was hearing what each group talked about. I was writing these facts and one-liner phrases on these signs, and I made about 20 signs with cardboard and marker. And it was great because Rachel, who had organized the event, she actually just saw me there and said, "There's signs here for anyone who wants them," which is exactly what I had hoped for. And I had one Occupy Maine 99% sign.
All right.
Yeah, and that sign was taken by a woman I had never met before. She was African American, and she looked just overjoyed to have a beautiful 99% sign. So I was like, you know, cool, you know.
Speaking about those signs, Rachel, what had struck me when everyone was marching down Congress Street, I noticed that there was a great deal of young people of all colors, carrying our 99% signs, and it was the first time that I'd seen that, and you know, so many people that I hadn't recognized, the people in our group of Occupy Mainers. These were now this is about 100 people carrying our signs, but although it was for the Martin Luther King weekend, it was just fantastic to see them all together.
That I only brought one 99% sign, Brian, and that 99% sign, by the time we got all the way to City Hall, had grown into like 15 Occupy signs that were 99%, and I was just amazed to see so many diverse people, young and old, holding these signs, owning the signs, Brian. They just loved them. Scooped them right up.
Nice metaphor for the movement, that one person starts and it grows from there.
On Monday, you were a part of an event. It was a breakfast, I believe.
Yes, they had the breakfast celebration at Holiday Inn by the Bay, and the room was packed. It was I don't know the exact number of people, but it was a room that was filled. Emphasize enough that it was a really very full program, very well done. I mean, it was clear that a lot of people had put a lot of work into it. It started with children from the Portland Housing Authority youth coming in a march and singing a song that the crowd really reacted to favorably.
Okay, well, in conclusion, this weekend was fantastic, and there were a lot of different people there. Can you tell us a little more your thoughts of the whole event on Saturday?
Well, Brian, as you know, it was bitter cold that day.
Right.
And it was just so striking to me that so many people were out in the cold, standing together for social justice. And as I looked at how much people were freezing but not moving, really committed to being there, it occurred to me that this is a huge intersection for Occupy Wall Street movement with the civil rights movement. And that was just so powerful.
Good deal. Well, that will be it. I had a great time this weekend myself. Thanks a lot for coming, both of you. Hi, I'm here with Rachel Lynn Rumson, one of the creators of the street theater that happened last weekend at the New Hampshire State primary. Rachel, tell me how you came up with the idea and who you brought the idea to at Occupy Maine.
Well, there's a facilitator named Puyi Kong who comes to Occupy Maine to help with a lot of facilitation projects with me. And she and I had been toying with the idea of doing some visual art, street theater, just on a whim. And when this opportunity to visit the Occupy New Hampshire primary came up, we said, could we possibly do it now? And then we talked to a couple people at the Meg Perry Center where Occupy Maine has an office. And the collaboration just blossomed from there with Evan, who you'll see in the video has a role as the president. He was just writing scripts, improvising so well that we actually built it through an improv process.
So Rachel, what was the play about? What was the street theater play about?
Well, it took us a few days to figure it out, but the play ended up titled Puppets and Power. And so it was about the marionette play that the 1% has over the electoral politics. And also about the partisan nature in which reds and blues don't listen to each other, they don't cooperate, and they blame in this endless blame game. So when we brought them together at the end in one group, that was symbolic of possibility, which Puyi then took on to get people to engage and actually change the scene.
What was your favorite part?
My favorite part, Brian, was I think when somebody from the audience decided that what they wanted to change was to knock Harry, who played the 1% marionette holder, pushed him right off the ladder he was on. And that's one of my favorite scenes.
So Rachel, what was the feedback that you got from the crowd? What was the outcome? Did you feel a good support from the crowd?
Well, there was a second when we did the second run through on the skit that we weren't sure if we were going to get the crowd to engage with our skit, and they did. We had so many people just owning it, walking in with different signs, taking the money out of the pockets of the president, and so to me that was just proof in the pudding that this was making sense to people and that they got it. And the feedback ever since then has been, when are you going to do it again? So I think we're going to do it again.
Nice, nice. Yeah. That's wonderful.
In order to grow, Occupy Maine needs your help. Here are some of the things you can do. Go anywhere that you know people are gathering to participate in direct democracy. Join your voice, your talents, and your spirit together with ours. Support Occupy Maine TV with a financial contribution. The production crew volunteers their time, but we have production costs, material, and miscellaneous expenses. Be informed and speak out. Talk to your neighbors, friends, and coworkers if you are blessed enough to be working, because the conversation about our future is now. We cannot change the world from our living rooms. Tell us about town meetings, legislative hearings, and events at which Occupy can support the voice of the people. Come to General Assembly and participate in direct democracy. Take part in protests, rallies, and demonstrations. Move your money from big banks to local banks and credit unions. Vote and be informed. This election cycle will be one of the most important in our lives.
Well, that's it for this edition of Occupy Maine TV. Thanks for watching, but please help us spread the word. Tell your friends here in Maine and around the world that they can watch the show at home on the internet.